Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, February 24th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Okay, well, things got bearish in the overnight due to news of Russia attacking Ukraine. I believe that's what caused the massive sell-off. Not that we needed anything to cause it, right? Yesterday was day number 5, of a downtrend in the market. Day number 6, overlapping to lower, actually. So that is a downtrend. That is a bearish trend in the market that we already had yesterday. Yesterday we had a sell-off, tried to go rotational, got one single rotation up, and then spent the rest of the day trending lower. We created a spike down in the last hour of the day, closed inside the spike. So that is the most bearish outcome going into the overnight. So this morning we're going to open with a very large gap lower. Large gaps often don't fill on the same day that they're created. Usually we have to come back a day or two later and try to backfill them. So that is one piece of information to keep in mind. But the fact that the inventory is so net short, almost everyone in the market right now is short the market. Because of that, we do expect to have some kind of counter auction to the overnight inventory. We would expect the market to try to push its way higher. And then wherever it finds resistance, wherever it can't get up any higher, that is the signal that we could be getting a gap and go. A gap and go would be the most bearish outcome, which is that the momentum continues this morning. So they try to push higher. They try to get a counter auction to the overnight inventory. They meet resistance. More sellers pile on, right? More people wake up this morning. They look at their portfolio. They freak out. They think they're late. They got to exit their trades, right? And we get continuation of that downtrend. That is the most bearish outcome and often will lead to another trend day down like we had yesterday. So it's important to see how the market reacts to that counter auction. Are they able to get half the gap filled? Are they able to get the full gap filled? But the market doesn't get bullish. Even if it pushes, it's a large range. But even if it pushes all the way up to yesterday's low, it's not bullish unless it gets back up into yesterday's range. If we get resistance at yesterday's low or anywhere below it, that is considered a gap and go, which is the most bearish outcome. Okay? So let's look for a counter auction and see where we get resistance. Get your votes in now. We got 66 people here. Only 29 have voted. It's completely anonymous. Nobody will know. Do you think we're going to fill the gap? Yes, half gap, or no, gap and go? You tell me in the survey. Also, please smash that like button. Only 19 likes this morning. Come on, everybody had to wake up excited about this. It's a beautiful gap scenario. Lots of money is going to exchange hands in the next few hours. Smash that thumbs up for two-sided trade. All right. Going to close off the poll. %, think we're going to get half the gap fill and then get the gap and go. The other 30% say no gap and go. Only 20% are looking for a full gap fill. That is interesting. Jimmy Woo, welcome to you. What a morning. Yes, sir. All right, getting some counter auction here. as expected to the upside. A little bit of short covering from that overnight inventory. Where do they find resistance? Nor Auto Trading done trading for the day. Congrats. That's good. Ned is here. Good morning to you. Cyrus, good morning. Laser Eye is with us. Nicholas is here. Scooball, hello to you. John back with us. Good morning. Shubaho Deep, good morning. Shubaho saying it looks like a gap and go. In India, they've had the worst fall since 2020. Oh, boy. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Shubaho. Chris Yee, good morning to you. Sanju, good to see you. Philip is here. Rev in the house. James, good morning. NATO Fellowship. Diego, good morning to you. All right, so we're now back to what was the fair price to do business in the overnight. Are there sellers waiting there to pile on? All right, we should be able to bring in enough buyers to take another stab at it. But if not, that is a very, very small gap fill. If that ends up being the resistance right there, that's bearish. So let's give the buyers one more chance to push up into it and see what happens. All right, and the counter auction continues to the upside. So for those of you that are just joining us, we're watching the market try to fill the gap, try to absorb that overnight activity, digest that overnight activity. And we're looking for, where do new sellers pile on? We had a little bit of a push right here, but we're getting through that resistance now. So we know there are sellers lurking, looking for a chance to short this market. We know the sharks are in the water, but they haven't quite found the blood yet. I think we're going to fill a little bit more of this gap. Potential resistance at the halfback from overnight as well. Dean, good morning to you. Lahab, good to see you. Welcome. Jay is here. Scooball, do you buy today long-term, guys? It's a fair question. I don't know if buy today is the right approach, but buy at these levels, sure. Remember, the market doesn't go straight from bearish to bullish. It often rotates for a little while and balances. So if the market is going to find support in this area for, a move higher, it'll likely spend a few days grinding around first. It'll do one of these dances right here before it makes its move higher. So you don't have to enter now. You don't have to try to catch the falling knife. But to me, on the daily, it just looks like a trend down that is getting continuation. All right, so the market is hitting resistance once again, trying to fill that gap. The ultimate test will be once they get it back to the zero line. Do they stop there? Is that where they meet the ultimate resistance? I would expect that on a gap and go, that we would not get back above the zero line. Amir, good morning to you. John Doe, good morning. Alexander, good to see you. Bow Bow is here. Good morning to you. 41.35 is your resistance. Well, we're playing with it right now. We're flirting with it. Alexander, let us all pray for Ukraine. Amir, what happened? I think somebody attacked somebody. I didn't actually watch the news this morning. PC NQ is holding up. Let's take a look at the Q. Yeah, NQ a little bit stronger than the ES. Feeling a bit more of its gap, getting above the halfback of the overnight. It's a little bit stronger, but still getting that resistance. Remember, resistance when you're trying to fill a gap is bearish because it is a signal. It should send you it should make a little red light pop up in your mind. Oh no, ding ding, there's sellers in this market. There's people waiting for a chance to short. When you have bearish momentum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, and on the 6th day, you got a gap and go. You know that there are bears in the market. Screwball pirate traders start accumulating like 15%. Yeah, I just don't know why. I mean, the concept of buying when there's blood in the water, sure, like on that narrative. But other than that, I don't really know why you'd buy today. There's so much uncertainty. This market, we could be looking at, a real correction here. So why not wait and buy it at discount? I mean, we might be looking at a correction on the monthly at this point. You know? If that were the case, 4,000 doable, 3,800 even doable. All right, the bulls are trying to gear up for another poke at the gap. Not looking very strong. Trading Donkey, this is a mere foreign territory or minor foreign territorial issue, no different than 2014 Crimea, and you would think World War III is starting. It's the press, man. They love to hype shit. Danielle, good morning to you. David V in the house. Trading Donkey, the U.S. is using this to pull the markets down naturally, air quotes, so they don't have to be blamed when trying to reach the same goal. I don't know. This is bad for America because it's going to be tricky to raise interest rates now, which is what we need. Tony, good morning to you. Terminator when moon? Not now. Not today. Today is not the day. David V, could we be looking at a bear market? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. Jimmy Woo, if you were watching that Russian index now, that's some crazy volatility, almost 50%. Yeah, maybe that's why Putin's doing this. Crash his own indexes so he can buy them up. All right, they're filling that gap once again. Looking for resistance at the halfback of the overnight, 41.64. When do you conclude it's a bear market? Well, technically, it's when it's 20% off its highs. But I can't remember any time since I started trading that we've had 5 straight, I guess I should say trading the market profile, 5 straight overlapping to lower days. That's pretty bearish, man. Okay, so once again, for those just piling in here, please smash that thumbs up button. It's a great way to help the channel grow and show the pirate that you care. So would appreciate those likes. And if you're wondering what we're looking at here, we're looking at a short covering rally to backfill a gap left behind by the overnight. And they're not doing a very good job. It is really just short covering and not a lot of new money buying in here. So we are waiting to see where does the market find resistance. If it is anywhere at or below yesterday's low, we'll be looking for continuation to the downside as a gap and go scenario, and only get bullish if we get up into yesterday's range. Which seems like a very slim probability in my mind at this point. But we are still trying to fill the gap. One step at a time. Okay, more resistance at the high. So once again, those sellers are just lurking, just waiting for their chance to pounce. Screwball, do you know that Sierra chart ticks are a little different than yours? They add a weight of parts of the market to the counting ticks? No, I did not know that. You mean the tick chart looks different? Cool. James, could we say if halfback were achieved, we'd spike up through the singles? Not quite, because there could be resistance at halfback. That's like, the 50% retrace on the fib. So there might be sellers right there, but if we do get through the halfback and we start to fill those single prints, yeah, you could say we target one more little short covering rally up into here. But let it bounce through here a few times first and make sure that that's not resistance. Seven Athletic. Did you trade the COVID crash, Charles? Yeah. I mean, I was trading, but I wasn't trading with the profile back then. I was still guess trading, what you would call gambling, just going based off the feel, looking at like 800 indicators. Donkey, where's the half gap fill? That's a good question. So it's in between 42.16 and 41.12. Almost 50, I guess. A little more. So 70s. Pretty much the filling of those single prints from the overnight. But man, those sellers, they're just waiting. What's that, guys? You trying to get the ticks above the zero line? No. We're new sellers. We've been waiting for a chance to do business. I don't love the 51 contracts at the high, but acceptable taper. Outside of that. Mm-hmm. Jeremy Jones got the e-course this morning. Congrats, brother. I hope you enjoy it. Terminator come a good way in a short time. Thank you. Charles, do you view this as an opportunity or better to stay out? When I am confident that we have gotten strong enough resistance that I'm trusting a gap and go to the downside, I think it is a beautiful chance to short. I think you don't fight momentum, and this could be one of those once a year type of opportunities. I mean, that's what I was thinking about yesterday after the market closed. I was kind of negative on myself that I didn't make more money yesterday. I really should have. But after we broke out of rotation, we had like one quick rotation. And after we broke out of it, I should have gotten short with a lot of size and then recognized the one time framing and just waited for cessation of one time framing, which would have kept me in the trade till the close. I mean, that's like a thoughtless trade. You don't have to be smart to take that trade. Short a breakout of rotation to the downside, stay in it as long as you one time frame. Simple as that. And instead, I was just taking little scalps, little bites on the way down, you know. But man, if I'd have just gotten in with some size on that breakout and retest. So anyway, I just was thinking to myself, yesterday would have been, if I'd have recognized the trade, would have been those like, you know, once a year type of days where I just make a killing. And then that provides me the cushion to trade with more risk moving forward. So anyway, yeah, gap and go with this much momentum to the downside, you can trade it. This is bearish. Okay, speaking of bearish, when we break below 41.24, that'll be when I officially go bearish. I think this little node right here is the buyer's last chance to try to fill the gap. If they don't get enough buyers stepping in right here, all the buyers who've been stepping in will give up and we'll start to get continuation lower. So this is the market's last chance for support. All right, well, they're giving it a try. One more attempt at filling that gap. And they're getting nothing for it. Trader Ned, Charles, do you still think this is short covering? Yes, I do. A combination of short covering and FOMO buying. Laser Eye, did I notice any real progress since I started to use Market Profile? Yes, bro. A complete 180-degree transformation. Yeah. I went from gambling to being a professional trader. That's the difference. I learned to understand how the market moves, why it does what it does, to a point where it gives me an edge to predict what it will do based on what it's currently doing, which I did not used to have. I thought I did, but really I was just guessing. Trading Donkey says that the halfway point is 41.68. Good to note for the gap. Jeremy Jones, with a gap and go, what are some early triggers to look for? It sounds like I'm making it overly simple. It really is just as simple as, does it fill the gap? Right? Like, is it able to get to the previous day's low, or if it's a gap up, the previous day's high? And you can never tell how long it's going to take. That's the thing. Sometimes the market might spend hours and hours trying to fill the gap. Then it finally fails and it starts to sell off. So it's tricky to know how long it's going to take or how hard they're going to try to fill the gap. But the point is, if they can't get back to yesterday's low, right? Or they get back to yesterday's low and instantly sellers pile on there. The point is, the momentum is still in the market to the downside. That's the signal of the gap and go, is that there is bearish momentum. And so that just tells you which way to take your trades. You want to sell resistance as opposed to trying to buy support. Vitatatus. Sorry, man, I can never say your name. We're going down straight to hell. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think we'll grind sideways here eventually. Scooball, you missed yesterday's short. Don't try to catch a missed one today. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about revenge trading. I'm talking about the conceptual idea that the market, there are just certain, when you talk to trader, well, when you listen to podcasts of traders talking and telling their like story of how they became traders, they always have a few opportunities, a few times early on in their career where they recognize something and they got into the trade because their rules lined up. And then the circumstances of the moment just happened to give them a gorgeous, beautiful trade where they made a massive return. And then that gave them some cushion moving forward to size up and to start taking on more risk and to kind of develop their system moving forward to trade with larger size because they've got all this extra capital they made. And yesterday would have been one of those for me. If when the market broke out to the downside, I'd gotten short and then added a bunch of size when it failed to pull back in, that would have been one of those days where I would have just made an absolute killing effortlessly because I would have just gotten lucky, right? There was just this war happening in Ukraine. Like there just was a thing that happened where my rules presented me with a trade, but the market presented me with an opportunity to make a massive return. And so that was my point, was like, you don't want to miss these chances when the market is being super volatile, but not necessarily that I have to short just because I missed a short yesterday. Danielle, the initial bounce yesterday was big. Usually in other times it made a fake breakout and then back the other way. I didn't take the trade either. The breakout of the initial bounce yesterday. Yeah. I wasn't looking at it as a breakout of the initial bounce. I was looking at it as a breakout of rotation, which with the bearishness that we had already had, You know what I'm saying? We had 4 straight days of overlapping to lower momentum to the downside. So when I see the market go rotational, make one rotation up and then instantly break out to the downside, I should have known. I mean, I did. During the live stream, I was bearish. I was saying the market's going to go lower, but I just didn't have the confidence to enter with size, is the problem. Speaking of initial balances, this initial balance is now to the upside. As I mentioned, we should get some resistance at the half back, so 41.6475. If not, though, we can backfill these single prints, looking to find some resistance around 79. Okay, we're getting some resistance here. All right, looks like they're going to push through the resistance. So next potential resistance around 79. Cyrus, thinking of yesterday's one time framing, do you enter as soon as you see it, or do you wait for a move up into a node? I'm struggling to figure it out. Yeah, so with the one time framing yesterday that happened in the second part of the day after that breakout, you would recognize it and then wait for resistance, wait for the market to have a pullback, pull back higher, and then when it gets resistance, you sell that. So the one time framing is the signal for which direction to look for the trades. Alex, you remember me saying it'll look clear in hindsight? I probably did. Marco, can we take a look at the Q? We absolutely can. Let's see how it's doing. Ooh, it's doing a great job filling its gap. I mean, I would say on the Q, it looks like it's going to get a gap fill. Probably right now. So looking for resistance at yesterday's low, 13,496. And that will be the ultimate tell of whether the downside momentum will continue. Do we get resistance at yesterday's low? So at this point, I would say we'll look for resistance on the ES around the same time the Q gets to its gap fill. Screwball, I've observed myself that when I'm thinking about missing trades, I'm doing more mistakes, but maybe it's my problem. No, you're absolutely right. You don't want to focus on your mistakes. You want to move on. Intraday, as you're taking trades, you want to just stay clear-minded the whole time. But at the end of the day, when you're done trading, there's nothing wrong with going back and being introspective and trying to learn from the things you did right and wrong. And that's what I'm referencing, was at the end of the day, once it was done and I looked back at it, I then had this epiphany moment where I realized this could have been one of those days. But it's not a negative thing. It's a learning opportunity. Harry, how do you see whether it's short covering or new buying? I mean, the most simplistic way, this is an oversimplification, but is pretty much if the ticks are above or below the zero. If they're above and they're continuing to build, that's new buyers entering. Whereas if they poke above and then instantly pull back down below, you know it was just short covering. But you can also tell from other things like tempo and where they find support resistance, how they build. Is it the type of thing where they bounce at one level a million times, or they bounce once really quick and then keep going? Okay, still left a few points here that need backfilling to get a gap fill on the Q. So once again, the sellers were so desperate. They've been waiting in the wings. They jumped in a few points too early. But we know they're out there. They're waiting for their chance. Donkey, that's the half gap fill. Very interesting. For those of you wondering why we are talking about that, the half gap fill has extremely high probability. It happens, I think it was like 90% of the time or something. Gap fills in general happen with high probability, but the half gap in particular, almost always. Jeremy Jones, the two columns side by side on your chart, the numbers are the same, but the colors are different. Could you explain? Yeah, so the one, it's kind of hard to tell first thing in the morning because, we only have two TPOs. But the one over here on the left that has the sort of lighter pink right here, that is the volume profile for the entire day's range. So for right now, that is including the A period and the B period together. Whereas this one in the middle, this volume profile that has the reddish right here, that is just calculating the current 30 minutes. So the red means it's the highest 30% of volume. So within the last 30 minutes, this node right here is within the highest 30% of volume. But within the full day, it's only in the middle 40%. That's why the numbers are the same, but the colors are different. Just what time frame it's calculating from. CCT really too short? Are you saying ready too short? Question mark. Yeah, I'm desperately ready to short. I just need to be certain that the gap is not going to fill first. And then I'll be short AF real quick. Laser Eye, what's your rule for being able to short today? Well, I pretty much, as far as like whether I'm allowed to short, I could short right now. We've got a gap and go. Value is lower. We've got momentum to the downside. Ticks are back below the zero line. But whether I want to or not, I don't have the confidence yet. For me, like I said earlier, the break of this 41.24 node is absolute certainty that the buyers get squeezed. But I would say now, maybe even halfback. I don't know. We'll feel it out as the tempo, right? If they start to fall very, very quickly, if it starts to liquidate, that's the buyers freaking out, getting emotional. And that's all the trigger I need. So it could just be the tempo that gets me into the short. Or if I just feel like we've reached that level where it's like the buyers are definitely going to give up. That could be halfback. If they don't get support there, they give up, or it could be down here. CCT and then just follow the trend. Correct. Yes. The argument I'm trying to make is if there's enough momentum for the market to keep pushing lower like this, it will just continue until that momentum is broken. And the gap and go is a sign it's not broken. So, yeah. Get short and stay with the trend. Ocean Blue, uncertainty of war pushes the market down. When boots finally are on the ground, markets usually rise. Yeah, buy the rumor, sell the news. That's how it go. But as of today, there is fear and uncertainty. Donkey says, I'll buy 40.60. Sure, there's some support there. Looks like there might actually be an old gap down at 40.14. I must have that marked on my other chart. Yep, there it is. Wouldn't that be fun if all of this was just to come back and fill this old gap we left behind in 2021 in April? All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Thank you so much for joining. I do still believe the momentum is to the downside, but we got to wait and see. They're still trying to fill the gap here. So when do they finally give up? When do the buyers finally get squeezed? That's when you'll see the bigger pullback. and I don't think it's far off. So trade safe out there, guys. Happy Thursday. We will see you tomorrow morning. Members of the brigade, I shall see you on the private stream.